Hey guys, I have another interesting chess study here. As you can see that black is ahead in material. He has a queen for a rook, and white has a rook and a knight and a bishop. But the important thing to note here is that black's minor pieces, these two knights, are really misplaced. A knight at the rim is a dim, and these two knights are mostly out of the game. Another important thing to note is that both the kings are in opposition, right? The white king and the black king are in opposition, and it's white to move. Another important thing is that the bishop is covering the escape square a6, so it's white to move. So so you might think that how is white going to win the game when black has a queen and two minor pieces, but that's not the case. White is going to win this game. So he starts with king c7 check. Now black has two options. He can either go to king a7 and or block the check with knight g8. You might think that king a7 is the right move, but it's not the right move. It's the wrong move. So if king a7, then white goes knight e5. So threatening mate at c6. So if queen c1 check, then knight c6 check, and then queen, you have to give up the queen. And in this position, white is going to win one of the knights, and it's an easy win. So here, so king a7 doesn't work. So the move that black has to play is knight g8, and then comes rook into g8, and then black has to give up the other knight as well, because there is no point in keeping that knight. So knight f8. If you go king a7 again, you get knight e5, threatening mate at c6, c6, and then queen c1, and again knight c6, and black has to give up the queen. There is no other way left. King into c6, and this is a lost position for black. So after rook into g8, knight f8, rook into f8 check, king a7, and now you may wonder what is the right, what does white do now? Now in this position, knight e5 is a mistake. Previously, in the previous position, the knight e5 was right, but now in this position, knight e5 is a mistake when both the knights are gone, because if you go knight e5, black can draw with queen a4. Then now you don't have the privilege of knight c6, because queen into c6, king into c6 is stalemate, right? So the same knight which was good in the previous positions at e5 is a mistake here. So knight, so rook into f8, now the knight, king a7, and now the knight goes to e7. The reason is this knight may want to go to c8 if the queen comes at a4. If the queen comes at a4 trying to get the knight at c6, this knight goes to c8, which we'll see in the game. So queen c1 check. If you go queen's a4 trying to do the same stalemate trick, then we get knight c8 check, king a8, because the square is taken by the bishop, so you have to go to king a8, and then knight b6 check wins the queen and the game. King a7 and then rook a8 mate. You don't have to even take the queen. So queen a4 doesn't work. Here, queen into d3, and then knight c6 check, king a6, knight b4 check wins the queen. So that doesn't work. So queen c1 check, and now you can pause the video and guess white's next move. It's a very shocking move actually. So here, white plays bishop c4, just giving up the bishop, because white doesn't need the bishop, right? So queen into c4. There is nothing else. There is nothing else black can do. We'll see that. So queen into c4, knight c6 check, king a6, rook a8 check, king b5, and rook a5 is mate. So after bishop c4, you may wonder what happens if knight queen f4 check, but that's not possible because the rook is guarding f4 and there is no other check left. You cannot give any checks, and you have to prevent knight c6 right? So the point of giving up this bishop is to avoid stalemate trick. So after queen c4, knight c6, the queen cannot grab this because this square is now free. The bishop is gone. So sometimes you have to give up your pieces to avoid stalemate, right? So in this case, if the bishop was there and the queen took the knight, then the king, when the king takes the queen, it becomes a stalemate. But in this case, after queen c1 check, white gives up the bishop to free the a6 square. Once the a6 square is free, queen c4 check, the knight jumps in with a check and also covers the a5 square, so the king can't escape. So king a6, and the queen cannot even come to f7 with a check because the rook is guarding it. The rook is very ideally placed here. So the only thing uh, black can do is king a6, and then comes rook a8, king b5, and rook a5 mate. A very important, very beautiful finish with a rook and a knight when your opponent is ahead in material. I hope you like the study.